everyone! Pineapple here with One Piece Season 2, Episode 5, Wax On, Wax Off. The end of the Little Garden arc. Last time, the assassins, while not killing any of the crew, have done well to incapacitate them. And is it just me, or on the island covered in dinosaurs, we don't see any when shit gets real? Our only two free crew members are Sanji, completely oblivious to the situation, and Usopp desperately trying to find an ounce of courage. Will Sanji actually figure out what's going on, or will Usopp live up to his stories and pull off a monumental feat? Let's find out in Wax On, Wax Off. We start off back at the Casa de Wax, Vivi having to deal with a giggling schoolgirl like Zoro, and Nami doing her best to embody John Divorce.
Shit happens.
Divorce.
But Vivi finally figures it out, freeing Nami, but Zoro is just too imbecilic to let himself be freed. And as Vivi explains Golden Week's abilities, nice for the audience, I am reminded of the fact that in a world of devil fruit and haki, Miss Golden Week's emotive and hypnotic paint is just some shit that she can do. No explanation, I love its absurdity, but then again, it's arguably more balanced for like a 16-year-old to be able to pull that off, compared to what characters like Blackbeard and Sugar managed to do with their powers later on. Talk about lazily overpowered. But that's a rant for another day. Vivi feels pretty hopeless, even with Nami optimistic, and hyping up Mr. 3 more, we get to see famous artwork recreated wax style, and his own personalized title card. After that, we finally get to see Golden Week and Mr. 3 together. They're dynamic nice, Mr. 3 mostly in control, but understandably terrified of his partner as they're each having fun in their own demented ways. Usopp overhears, realizing he's alone, and tries to save Luffy, but he's still under Golden Week's spell. Now, this episode is very good for Usopp, but I'm sick of these characters not realizing their friends are being controlled. Usopp acknowledges that he's out of character, he sees the paint mark, all he's got to do is give it a little wipe. Usopp is scared off by a returning Golden Week after a nice pep talk to Luffy, and I've seen complaints that Golden Week is clearly not as diminutive in stature for her age as she is in the original, or as personalityless. And I like the original Golden Week, but while a decent foe in the anime, here, much like the assassins being allowed to kill, her actually having a personality and moments to show off how demented and dangerous she is works a lot better and gives her more to work with than if she was blank-faced the whole time. But I do like the fan theory that in this version, she may develop that blank emotional state due to the backlash of what's done to her when beaten later. Usopp has a really nice planning scene where he realizes he needs backup, looking for the cook who is only now coming across Mr. 3's wax house, just missing the captives who are currently being stuck to Mr. 3's gigantic cake sculpture, as he pulls the ever-used villain pitfall of taking way too long to kill the heroes to satisfy an artistic need. I was never really a fan of the whole wax sculpture death trap in the original, but I do think it's really well translated into the live action. And while not succeeding, the crew's attempts to get out of it. Golden Week gives her tragic backstory, well, mostly tragic for the parents that she killed, as she explains her color variants and oh, holy shit! When Luffy fights back, she stabs him through the hand with her paintbrush. That's diabolical. And honestly, Iñaki is acting his arse off playing Luffy's struggle and desperation. Sanji has a look around the wax house and basically calls Mr. 3 a kinky fucker, and after spotting a nice golden pineapple, he finds files on all of Baroque Works' pertinent targets, finally throwing Zoro's away, and I'm loving the artwork in here, but as he tries to leave, he hears the ringing of a Den Den Mushi, us getting our first partial look at Mr. Zero as Sanji attempts to get information. Mr. Zero does well to set up Smoker's future side quest, and I think the little peeks we get at Mr. Zero are teasers done nicely, even emulating his laugh. Oh, what I wouldn't do to hear him call Luffy Mugiwara.
Mugiwara.
But Sanji is under attack as the previously mentioned Unluckies swoop down to confirm the kills. Instead, Mr. 13 and Miss Friday finding Sanji alive and well. Usopp assumes Sanji is dead thanks to the remains of the cook and swordsman's tiff, But hearing movement, he heads back to Baroque, hoping for some giant assistance, but Baroque is too injured to get up. The perspective in these shots is really nice, and Usopp has a really nice talk with Baroque. The giant, fully confident Usopp can do it, thanks to his, pardon the pun, tall tales from before. But Usopp is completely hopeless, scared out of his mind at the idea of his most likely demise. But Baroque helps him along, fighting through his fear for the sake of his friends. It's both sweet and a really good moment to show what at stake will allow Usopp to get off his ass. This being consistent, as the last time he fought back at Logtown was to save Luffy.
I'll die.
An honorable death, trying to save your friends.
Sanji gets a good fight scene, first straight up breaking Miss Friday's neck, and finally putting Mr. Zero on hold as he fights Mr. 13. Now first of all, I like that the whole music sounds like a variation of opening 2, believe, but the fight between the cook and Mr. 13 had me laughing the whole time. And don't get me wrong, but sometimes the CGI really doesn't line up, or Taz is looking in the wrong direction, or the way they inserted Mr. 13 into the fight just really fails to interact well. But I find it hilarious all the same, although I don't think Mr. Zero feels the same way, vowing vengeance on Sanji, or his secret persona, Mr. Prince. Sanji finds his prize, an eternal pose to Alabasta, but really channeling Zoro will spend the rest of the episode wandering aimlessly, only finding everyone once the action is finished. Mr. 3 and the others torture Vivi by telling her about how Alabasta is in a real state of civil war. Meanwhile, Golden Week is having Luffy walk himself into the sea. A clever death, as sure the water may wipe off the paint, but he'd still be fucked considering his devil fruit abilities. Usopp starts strong, running in, accidentally-ing his way into completely incapacitating Golden Week, and he pulls his captain out of the water, while Golden Week has a horrifying mental breakdown, only for us not to see her again this season. Did Usopp kill her? It wouldn't be his first graphic murder. Luffy and Usopp make it to the cake right as their crew are trapped, giving them precious little time. Mr. 3 comedically running off, Luffy giving chase, Usopp left to the whims of the other two assassins. The fighting gets a little crazy from here, so we'll split them up, leaving Luffy last and starting with Usopp. He challenges them to a fair fight, picking to duel Valentine since she got one over on him last episode, and he gives her the literal runaround, using his smarts to get her to unintentionally break the crew out of the wax, and after some funny business he ends up taking cumulatively 170 kilos of knuckle sandwich right to the face, in order to get Zoro, Nami and Vivi free. And this is probably my favourite Usopp moment of the show so far. This is a badass sacrifice that he can make thanks to Baroque helping him overcome his fear. Sure, he doesn't win the fight, but he takes a real beating just to save his friends, and that's what's really commendable. Not only making him more relatable to the audience, but making me forgive his more annoying moments. Anime Usopp for me will do something badass like this every now and then, but then immediately regress. And sure, Usopp still isn't a badass after this, but it does feel like a real moment of growth, like he actually learned something, winning the fight without winning the fight. This destroys the cake and frees the trio, well, Zoro is still stuck, and the fight breaks up into genders. Vivi and Nami handling Valentine with some really good choreography, even if with everything else going on and how slow Mr. 5 is, it does feel like it goes on a tad long. Nami also detouring for a second to help knock 5 on his ass, but although there are some close calls like Val shattering Nami's staff, and Vivi almost getting stabbed, Nami knocks her out once Vivi uses her slashes to choke and restrain Valentine. But come on, with all the strength and tension in that wire, I really need Vivi to put more than just her pinkies into the task, 'cause she's gonna get really hurt real soon. On the other side, Zoro is trapped, but a couple of shots from Usopp's concussed ass really help keep Mr. 5 occupied. But with the aforementioned hit from Nami, Zoro can get in close quarters with 5. The gun choreography, while a little nonsensical feeling in small moments, feels really cool and personal. Although the gun fu will never reach the heights of Toad vs. Bill. Other than than that, Usopp comes in clutch again and Zoro pretty much finishes 5 off the same way he did with Mr. 7. But this time it's cooler due to his swords now being flaming. The two fights were pretty good, the girls probably being my favourite as 5 spends most of his time mugging at a distance. But meanwhile, Luffy is following after Mr. 3 into the wilderness. And as Mr. 3 insults him, Luffy has to try and figure out which Mr. 3 is real. Now the Luffy versus Mr. 3 segment doesn't work as well for me as the other two. Both characters' reliance on CGI fighting means that it feels very differently handled to the more grounded fights. But I like Luffy's effects, the Mr. 3 clones all look great, and I think the look and acting really help make Mr. 3's duplicitous daggers feel painful. Eventually Luffy follows Mr. 3 into Brocky's cave, even more enraged upon finding Dory waxed up, and while pretty simple, I do like how they talk about each other. Luffy literally proving him wrong to beat him. Luffy rightly calls out his underhanded tactics, but when Mr. 3 calls him nothing but a thoughtless bruiser, Luffy actually uses his noggin, seeing Mr. 3's wax able to shatter itself, so he does the same, sending a slab of wax into Mr. 3, really fucking him up with only one hit. Everyone rendezvous back by the cake, Usopp rightfully getting his badassery recognised, and Sanji finally deciding to join everyone with the good news of the alabaster pose. We find out Luffy freed Dory, so with Brogy healing, the two friends are back together, honour intact, swearing their duel off, and Brogy having a really sweet goodbye with Usopp as they assist the crew one last time, bisecting a monstrous goldfish as the Straw Hats escape. As we hear a clip of the episode's closing credits song, Pray to the Sun. Vivi once again tries to pull the I'll just get on the next passing shit bullshit, not taken by Luffy. Nami smug that her point from the last episode was proven. While a little depressing, the Giants once again get heated and ready to fight when they finally remember their argument, and it's pretty obvious that something is wrong with Nami. Oh look, even after a whole episode where the point was made, be concerned when your friends act weird, we are once again ignoring this shit. I like the way they leave the episode off on a cliffhanger with her sickness, but I would have liked the build up to be just a little more subtle or at all subtle, rather than right in front of your face. We get a final look at Baroque works, Mr. 3 seemingly killing Valentine to cover up his mistake. Once again, I like that the killers are killing, but she really should have been able to beat the shit out of him and escape. The crew toast Usopp. It's all really sweet, everyone back to their regular dynamic, Nami making sure Vivi knows that she's welcomed, but the episode gets its good cliffhanger as Nami wanders out and collapses on the deck. So we've capped off the little garden arc, and I think we had another really good episode. The battles, while not as exciting as Whiskey Peak, were much better balanced, not just a Zoro fest, everyone got to do their thing, even Sanji far away from everyone else was committing animal abuse. The CGI looks good, Usopp got some fantastic stuff, and while very obvious, the cliffhanger with Nami was still effective. So while the last episode was a tad frustrating with the obliviousness of characters and a slower episode as it was set up, this pays off perfectly, and going into the final arc of the season, we haven't had a bad episode yet, and I can guarantee we have at least one more knockout to come, so I am pretty excited. Thank you everybody for watching my review of One Piece Season 2, Episode 5, Wax On, Wax Off. Please like the video if you liked it, comment down below if you wish, consider subscribing to the channel, and if you do, ring the notification bell so that you're told every single time that I make an upload. Once again, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next review. Bye!
Toast. A little piece of toast. Because there's so much to choose from. There's brown bread, white bread, all sorts of wholemeal bread. It comes in funny packages with writing on the side.